12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos, by Jordan B. Peterson. Introduction. Imagine, for a moment, a creature that has been on this earth for over 350 million years. A creature that existed long before the dinosaurs, long before the trees, and certainly, long before us. I'm talking about the lobster. Down on the cold, dark floor of the ocean, a lobster is obsessed with one thing: its place in the world. It needs a home, a territory. And because good homes are scarce, it has to fight for it. When two lobsters meet, they don't exchange pleasantries. They engage in a complex, ancient dance of dominance. They size each other up. They wave their claws. They spray chemicals from their faces that communicate their size, their health, their mood. If one is clearly outmatched, it backs away. But if they're close in size and power, the conflict escalates. They wrestle, each trying to flip the other onto its back. Now, here is the incredible part. When one lobster wins, its brain chemistry actually changes. Its serotonin levels rise. It becomes cocky, confident. It stands taller, its posture expands. A winner is more likely to win again. But the loser's brain changes too. Its serotonin plummets. It becomes timid, defeated. Its posture droops. It's more likely to lose its next fight. A single defeat can turn a king into a bottom dweller. You might be asking yourself, what does any of this have to do with me? Well, what if I told you that same ancient part of your brain, the part that tracks your status, your confidence, your place in the world, operates on the very same principles? What if I told you that your posture, the way you carry yourself through the world, is sending a constant signal, not just to others, but to the deepest, most primitive parts of your own mind? This is just one of the startling truths you'll find in the book we're exploring today, 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos. Written by the clinical psychologist and Professor Drive. Jordan B. Peterson. This book became a global phenomenon, selling millions of copies and sparking conversations in households and classrooms all over the world. It's not just a self-help book, it's a deep, challenging, and often poetic exploration of what it means to live a meaningful life in a world that so often feels chaotic and full of suffering. Peterson doesn't offer easy answers. Instead, he invites us on a journey through mythology, religion, psychology, and his own clinical practice to uncover 12 profound, practical principles for navigating the beautiful and terrible reality of existence. So, stick with me. Because by the end of our time together, you will have a map, an antidote to the chaos in your own life. You will understand why you must treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping, why you should pursue what is meaningful and not what is expedient, and yes, why you should always stand up straight, with your shoulders back. Let's begin. Book summary. To understand the 12 rules, we first have to understand the world they're designed for. And according to Peterson, the world isn't fundamentally made of objects, like science tells us. It's made of a story. A drama. And that drama has two primary characters: order and chaos. Imagine a perfect, walled garden. The paths are clear, the plants are pruned, everything is exactly where it's supposed to be. This is order. It's the world of structure, of tradition, of the known. It's your family, your community, your schedule. It's the feeling of safety and predictability. When you're in the realm of order, you know the rules, you know who you are, and you know what to do next. Symbolically, throughout history, we've represented this as masculine, the wise king, the lawgiver, the builder of cities. But no wall is high enough to keep everything out. Outside the garden, there's the wild, untamed forest. Anything could be in there. This is chaos. It's the unknown, the unexpected. It's the place of potential, of creativity, of new ideas. But it's also the place of danger, of uncertainty, of tragedy. Chaos is what happens when you lose your job, when a relationship ends, when you get a terrifying medical diagnosis. It's the dragon that guards the treasure. Symbolically, we've always seen this as feminine, Mother Nature, the source of all new life, but also the force that can destroy it in an instant. You can see this ancient idea perfectly in the Taoist yin-yang symbol. Order is the white serpent, and chaos is the black. But look closer. There's a dot of black in the white serpent, and a dot of white in the black one. This tells us something crucial. Order can, at any moment, collapse into chaos. And out of the deepest chaos, new order can emerge. Life, for us, is a constant negotiation between these two great forces. Too much order, and life becomes rigid, tyrannical, and stagnant. We become trapped. Too much chaos, and life becomes an anxious, terrifying, unstable mess. We drown. So where, then, should we aim to be? Peterson's answer is the central idea of this entire book. The most meaningful life is found right on the border between order and chaos. It's a path, a narrow way. He calls it the path of life. It's the place where you have one foot firmly planted in what you know and understand, and the other foot tentatively placed in the unknown. It's the place of growth, of learning, of becoming. It's where you are secure enough to be confident, but challenged enough to be engaged. When you're completely absorbed in what you're doing, when time seems to disappear, that's when you're on that border. That feeling of deep engagement, of purpose. That is meaning. And this leads us to one of the most important rules in the book: pursue what is meaningful, not what is expedient. What is expedient? It's the easy way out. It's lying to avoid a difficult conversation. It's indulging in a short-term pleasure that you know will hurt you in the long run. It's hiding in the safety of order when you know you need to grow, or staying in the destructive freedom of chaos because you're afraid of responsibility. Expediency is the path of immediate gratification, but it's a path that ultimately leads to a shallow, meaningless life. Meaning, on the other hand, is the antidote to the suffering that is an inevitable part of life. And make no mistake, life is suffering. This isn't a pessimistic statement. It's a fundamental truth that every great religious and philosophical tradition has acknowledged. We are fragile. We get sick. We grow old. We lose the people we love. This is the tragic, unavoidable condition of being human. And when we are faced with this suffering, the temptation is to either curse the world for its cruelty, or to retreat into the cheap, fleeting pleasures of expediency. But Peterson offers a third way: to voluntarily accept the suffering of life and to find meaning in that acceptance. And that brings us to how we should treat the one person we so often neglect in this difficult journey: ourselves. Why is it, he asks, that people are better at giving their pets their prescribed medication than they are at taking their own? When a veterinarian gives you pills for your dog, you fill the prescription and administer it dutifully. But when a doctor does the same for you, there's a good chance you won't even fill it, or you'll forget to take it. Why? The answer, Peterson suggests, lies in one of the oldest stories we have: the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. This isn't a story about historical fact, it's a story about the human condition. In the garden, before they ate from the tree of knowledge, Adam and Eve were like animals. They were innocent, unconscious. They were naked, but felt no shame. Then, the serpent, the symbol of chaos, of the unknown that always lurks even in paradise, tempts them. They eat the fruit, and their eyes are opened. They become self-conscious. And what is the very first thing they realize? They are naked. To be naked is to be vulnerable, to be flawed, to be mortal. They see their own imperfections, and they are ashamed. They can now see into the future, and what they see is their own death. They are cast out of the timeless paradise of the animal and into the harsh reality of human history, where they must work and suffer to survive. But that's not all. In knowing their own vulnerability, they also learn something else, something truly terrible. They now understand how to hurt others. A lion kills, but it is not evil. It is just being a lion. But a human being, aware of his own pain and fragility, can choose to inflict that pain on another, for the sake of causing suffering itself. This is the knowledge of good and evil. This is the human capacity for malevolence. And so, we come back to the question, why do we treat ourselves so poorly? Because we know ourselves completely. We are more aware of our own flaws, our own lies, our own weaknesses, and our own capacity for evil than anyone else. We see our own nakedness, and we hold ourselves in contempt. We look in the mirror and think, how could something so flawed, so pathetic, so capable of wrongdoing, possibly be worthy of care? We see ourselves as descendants of Cain, the first murderer. And this is where Peterson presents one of his most powerful rules: treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. This doesn't mean indulge yourself or just do what makes you happy. Happiness is fleeting. Giving a child candy makes them happy, but it doesn't mean you should feed them nothing but candy. No, treating yourself like someone you are responsible for helping means asking yourself, what would be truly good for me? It means taking care of yourself for the long term. It means making a schedule and sticking to it. It means eating a good breakfast. It means recognizing that you are not just a flawed creature, but also a creature with a spark of the divine. You have a moral obligation to care for that spark, to nurture it, to help it grow. You are important. You have a role to play in the world. And you cannot play that role if you are broken and resentful. You must take care of yourself, not because you're perfect, but because you have a vital responsibility. So, how do we begin this journey of taking responsibility? Where do we start, when the world feels so overwhelming and our own lives are in such disarray? We start with our bodies. We start with the lobster. Remember the winning lobster? Its posture expands. It stands tall. The losing lobster droops and shrinks. That ancient part of your brain is watching how you carry yourself. If you slump, if you walk with your head down, you are sending a signal of defeat. Your brain will restrict the flow of serotonin. You will feel less confident, more anxious, more stressed. The world will see you as a loser, and you will be treated accordingly. This is why the very first rule is stand up straight with your shoulders back. This is not just simple advice about posture. It is a physical command with profound psychological and even metaphysical implications. To stand up straight is to voluntarily accept the burden of being. It is to face the demands of life head-on. It's to signal to yourself and to the world that you are willing and able to bear your responsibility. You're not hiding. You're not defeated. You are facing the tragedy of life with your eyes wide open. When you do this, your own brain chemistry will begin to change. The serotonin will flow more freely. You will feel more confident, calmer, and more capable. Others will start to treat you differently. They will see you as someone competent, someone to be respected. And this creates a positive feedback loop. Their positive reactions will reinforce your confidence, which will make you stand even taller. Standing up straight is the physical manifestation of a spiritual decision, the decision to transform the chaos of potential into the habitable realities of order. But what happens when we look around and see others who seem so much further ahead than us? In our modern, hyper-connected world, it's easy to feel like a failure. No matter what you do, there's always someone on the internet who is better, more successful, more attractive. This is the voice of the internal critic, and it can be merciless. This voice tells you that life is a zero-sum game. You're either a winner or a loser. And compared to the rock stars and the billionaires and the geniuses, you are most certainly a loser. How can you ever feel good about yourself in a world like this? This is where another crucial rule comes in. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today. Your life is unique. Your circumstances, your challenges, your strengths, your weaknesses, they are a combination that has never existed before and will never exist again. Comparing your unique journey to someone else's highlight reel is not just unfair, it's a recipe for bitterness and resentment. The only person you should be competing with is you. Are you a little better today than you were yesterday? Did you learn something? Did you fix a small thing that was broken? Did you take one small step forward? This is not about grand, heroic gestures. It's about the magic of compound interest. A tiny improvement, repeated every day, leads to monumental changes over time. Your goal is not to be a success overnight. Your goal is to be on an upward trajectory. Happiness is not found at the destination, it's found in the journey uphill. So, ask yourself every morning, what is one small thing I can do today to make my life, or the world, just a little bit better? And at the end of the day, look back and acknowledge your progress, no matter how small. This is how you build momentum. This is how you cultivate hope. Now that we've started to take responsibility for ourselves, we can turn our attention to the world around us. And the first, most immediate part of that world is our relationships. Here too, we must choose our path carefully. Peterson tells the story of his youth in a small, isolated town in northern Alberta. He had a group of friends who were smart and curious, but also aimless and resentful. They spent their time driving around in circles, drinking, and getting into trouble. When he moved away to college, he found a new group of friends, people who were aiming upward, who were building a better life. This, he says, was one of the most important decisions he ever made. This leads to the rule: make friends with people who want the best for you. This sounds simple, but it's incredibly difficult. Why do people choose friends who are not good for them? Sometimes it's out of a misguided desire to rescue someone. You see a person who is struggling, and you think your friendship can save them. But Peterson warns that this is often fueled by vanity. You want to see yourself as the hero. But you have to ask yourself, does this person truly want to be helped, or are they committed to their own downward spiral? Down is a lot easier than up. It takes no effort to fail. Virtue and success are the mysteries. If you surround yourself with people who are aiming down, they will drag you down with them. They will offer a cigarette to the former smoker. They will become jealous when you succeed. Your improvement shines a light on their own failures, and they will resent you for it. But if you surround yourself with people who support your upward aim, they will hold you to a higher standard. They will encourage your successes and call you out on your self-destructive habits. They won't tolerate your cynicism. They will help you become a better version of yourself. This is not a selfish act. It's a responsibility. Choosing people who are good for you is a good thing for the world, because you will then be a better, stronger person, capable of contributing more. And once you've chosen your friends wisely, you have to learn to communicate with them, and with everyone else. This requires another kind of responsibility, the responsibility of honest, precise speech. Most of us use language to get what we want. We manipulate, we flatter, we tell white lies to avoid conflict. We keep things vague to avoid responsibility. But this, Peterson argues, is a path to hell. Think about a small problem in your home. A leaky faucet, a messy room. You ignore it. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. But it doesn't go away. The mess grows. The problem gets bigger. In the darkness of your willful blindness, the small problem transforms into a dragon. One day, the dragon is so big that it bursts out and burns your whole house down. This is what happens when we avoid the truth. This is the danger of sins of omission. Every time you fail to say what you think, every time you let a small injustice pass, you are feeding the dragon of chaos. This brings us to two of the most challenging rules: tell the truth, or, at least, don't lie, and be precise in your speech. When your life is not what it could be, try telling the truth. When you feel weak and confused, try telling the truth. The truth is the light that cuts through the fog of chaos. When you speak precisely, you take the terrifying, undefined chaos of a problem and you give it a name and a form. Once it has a form, you can begin to grapple with it. If you're unhappy in your relationship, don't just say, "Everything is terrible." That's too vague. It's a dragon. It's everything. Instead, be precise. When you do this specific thing, it makes me feel this specific way. This is what I would prefer instead. Now you have a manageable problem, not an all-consuming chaos. You can negotiate. You can find a solution. Lying, even with small lies, warps your perception of reality. You start to build your life on a foundation of falsehood. And a house built on sand cannot stand when the storms of life inevitably come. When you tell the truth, you align yourself with reality. You build your character on the solid rock of being. It's difficult, and it will often lead to conflict in the short term. But in the long term, it is the only path to a genuine, solid, and meaningful life. Telling the truth also means being honest in your conversations. It means really listening to the other person, not just waiting for your turn to speak. This is the heart of the rule: assume that the person you are listening to might know something you don't. Most conversations are not really conversations. They are battles for status. One person tells a story, and the other immediately tries to top it. Or, they are monologues, where each person is just broadcasting their own opinions, trying to win the argument. A true conversation is a process of mutual exploration. It's a journey into the unknown. You enter a conversation not to impose your certainty, but to expand your understanding. You listen with a genuine desire to learn. When you do this, you are not just exchanging information, you are helping each other think. People organize their brains with conversation. We need to tell our stories to others to make sense of our own lives. A good listener acts as a mirror, reflecting our thoughts back to us, helping us to see ourselves more clearly. By summarizing what the other person has said and asking, "Have I understood you correctly?" you not only ensure that you understand them, but you help them to understand themselves. This kind of listening is courageous. It requires you to set aside your own ego and open yourself to being changed by what you hear. But it is in this act of genuine dialogue that we repair the tears in the fabric of the world and build real connection. As you begin to put your own life in order, you might start to notice all the things that are wrong with the world. The injustice, the corruption, the suffering. It's easy to become critical, to point fingers, to demand that others change. But Peterson offers a stern warning, encapsulated in the rule: set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world. This is perhaps the most famous and most misunderstood of all the rules. It is not an argument for political apathy. It is a profound statement about the nature of responsibility. The rule is a direct challenge to the arrogance of the ideologue who believes he has all the answers for how to fix society, while his own life is a chaotic mess. How dare you try to rule a city when you cannot even bring peace to your own household? Peterson tells the story of Alexander Solzhenitsyn, the great writer who was imprisoned in the brutal Soviet gulags. He had every reason to curse the world, to be filled with hatred and the desire for revenge. But in the depths of that hell, he asked himself a different question: how have I contributed to this catastrophe? What have I done wrong? He took inventory of his own life, his own lies, his own moral failings. he cleaned up his own soul. And in doing so, he found the moral strength to write The Gulag Archipelago, a book that exposed the lies of the Soviet system so powerfully that it helped bring the whole rotten structure crashing down. One man, by putting his own house in perfect order, shook the foundations of a totalitarian empire. This is the power of personal responsibility. Before you try to fix the world, fix yourself. Stop doing what you know to be wrong. Start doing what you know to be right. Clean up your room. Clean up your life. Say what you need to say to your family and friends. Take full advantage of the opportunities you have been given. If everyone did this, the world would transform. The evil that we see in the world is the compounded effect of millions of individual moral failures. By refusing to contribute your own deceit and resentment to that pile, you become a powerful force for good. This philosophy of radical responsibility extends to how we raise the next generation. Modern parents, Peterson observes, are often terrified of their children. They want to be their child's friend, and they are afraid to discipline them for fear of being disliked. This is a terrible mistake. It is an abdication of the primary duty of a parent. And so, the rule: do not let your children do anything that makes you dislike them. If your own child's behavior makes you, their parent who loves them more than anyone, dislike them, imagine the effect it will have on other people. A child who is not socialized, who is not taught the rules of cooperation and respect, will be rejected by their peers and disliked by other adults. They will be lonely and miserable. Discipline is not an act of anger or revenge. It is an act of love and responsibility. It is a parent's duty to be a proxy for the real world. You must teach your children the limits of acceptable behavior. You must use the minimum necessary force, but you must be willing to be the bad guy in the short term to ensure your child's long-term well-being. A well-behaved, socially desirable child will be welcomed everywhere. They will have friends. Their teachers will like them. The world will open up for them. To fail to discipline a child is not an act of kindness. It is an act of cruelty. But this doesn't mean we should crush a child's spirit. Quite the opposite. We need to encourage courage and competence. This is especially true for boys, who are often naturally more aggressive, competitive, and drawn to the edge of danger. Which brings us to the rule: do not bother children when they are skateboarding. Peterson describes watching young boys attempting dangerous tricks on their skateboards, grinding down handrails, risking injury. The impulse of a protective society is to put a stop to it. To install skate stoppers, to make the world safe. But safety is not the ultimate goal. Competence is. When we overprotect our children, we don't make them safe. We make them weak. We deprive them of the opportunity to confront challenges, to test their limits, to develop courage and resilience. Boys, in particular, need to push themselves. They need to compete. They need to figure out how to be brave and effective in the world. This is how they become competent men. When a culture becomes too focused on harmlessness, it begins to see masculine energy itself as pathological. It tries to socialize boys like girls. But this is a disaster. If men are pushed too hard to feminize, they don't become kind and gentle. They become interested in harsh, tyrannical ideologies. Or they retreat into a state of perpetual adolescence, refusing to take on responsibility. A healthy society needs men who are strong, competent, and willing to confront the unknown. And that process starts on the playground, on the skateboard, on the edge of danger. We should encourage this spirit, not crush it under the weight of our own fear. Even if you follow all these rules, life will still be hard. Tragedy will still strike. You will still face pain and loss. This is the bedrock reality of our existence. How do we live with this knowledge, without falling into despair or bitterness. This is the final wisdom of the book, captured in a seemingly simple rule: pet a cat when you encounter one on the street. Peterson tells the heartbreaking story of his daughter Michaela's struggle with a severe, debilitating form of juvenile arthritis. For years, she was in constant, excruciating pain. She underwent multiple surgeries, including a hip and ankle replacement. As a father, he was faced with the ultimate test of his philosophy. How do you find meaning when your innocent child is suffering so terribly? He doesn't offer a simple answer. There is no magic formula to make the pain go away. But what he does suggest is the importance of noticing the small moments of grace and wonder that exist even in the darkest of times. Life is limited. Our existence is fragile. And it is this very limitation that gives life its meaning. A superhero with no weaknesses is not a hero at all. He's boring. There's nothing for him to overcome. It is in our struggle against our limitations that we find our strength and our purpose. So, when you are walking down the street, lost in your troubles, and a cat appears, take a moment. Bend down. Offer your hand. The cat may ignore you, or run away. But it might come to you. It might rub against your leg. It might let you pet it. In that small, simple moment, you are being reminded that even in the midst of suffering, there is still good in the world. There is still beauty. There is still a connection to be made with the wonder of being. A cat is a symbol of nature, of being in its purest form, looking at humanity and, for a moment, approving. These small moments are not a distraction from the tragedy of life. They are the very things that can give us the strength to endure it. They are the cracks of light in the darkness. So, when life is overwhelming, learn to shorten your time frame. Don't worry about next year, or even next week. Just focus on today. What is the one right thing you can do, right now? And in the midst of that focus, allow yourself to be open to the small, unexpected moments of beauty. Pet a cat. Watch a little girl dance in her ballet costume. Savor a good cup of coffee. These are not trivialities. They are the antidotes to the poison of despair. They are the reminders that, despite everything, it is a profound gift to be alive. Commentary. As we come to the end of our journey through 12 Rules for Life, what is the central message we should take with us? It's not simply a list of do's and don'ts. It's a profound and challenging philosophy of life. At its heart is a single, powerful idea: radical personal responsibility. In a world where it is so easy to see oneself as a victim of circumstance, of society, of fate, Peterson's work is a call to arms. It is a call to see yourself as the hero of your own story. The world is filled with suffering and malevolence. This is true. But the worst possible response to that truth is to add to it with your own bitterness, resentment, and deceit. The antidote is meaning. And meaning is not something you find, it is something you create. You create it by choosing to confront the chaos of your own life and to bring order to it, one small, responsible act at a time. You create it by telling the truth, by listening to others, by taking care of yourself, and by aiming for the highest good you can conceive. This is not a path to a life free of pain. No such path exists. It is a path to a life that is so meaningful that the pain becomes bearable. It is a path that can give you the strength to stand up in the face of tragedy, to be the person that others can rely on when everything falls apart. So, how can you begin to apply these ideas in your own life, starting today? Here are a few simple actions you can take. First, take the smallest step. Ask yourself, what is one thing in my life that is not in order, that I could fix, and that I would fix? Maybe it's the pile of clothes on your chair. Maybe it's an email you've been avoiding. Maybe it's a difficult conversation you need to have. Don't try to solve all your problems at once. Just identify that one small thing, and do it. This is the metaphysical act of cleaning your room. It is the beginning of bringing order to the chaos. Second, take the truth test. For the next 24 hours, make a commitment to not say anything you believe to be false. Pay attention to how often you are tempted to lie, to exaggerate, to omit, or to manipulate with your words. This simple practice can be a powerful revelation. It will show you how deeply ingrained the habit of deceit can be, and it will begin to align your speech, and your being, with reality. Finally, aim up. Take a few minutes to think about who you could be. Not what you want to have, but who you want to be. What would the best version of you look like in a year? Write it down. Be specific. This is your new standard of comparison. From now on, your goal is not to be better than anyone else, but to be better than the person you were yesterday, moving ever closer to that higher vision of yourself. That was the book summary of 12 Rules for Life, An Antidote to Chaos by Jordan B. Peterson. We've walked the path of these 12 rules together, but it's like looking at a map of a great mountain. I've shown you the trails, but the feeling of climbing it yourself, of facing the challenges and seeing the view from the top, that's something else entirely. If these ideas have sparked something in you, I truly encourage you to read the book. It's not a quick or easy read, but it is a deeply rewarding one. Reading it isn't just learning, it's an experience that can genuinely change the way you see yourself, your struggles, and your potential. The link to the book is in the description. Also, if you found our journey today valuable, please take a moment to subscribe and perhaps leave a comment. Every week, we dive into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf, and I would be honored to have you join us. Let's keep growing together.